Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to a new Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls video. Today we're going to be discussing patch 2.0.5, which literally only a couple hours ago got released, as was rumored for a couple of days already. Now, these patch notes are quite long, so I'm gonna try and read through it the best I can. I'm not gonna go into all the class specific changes, so instead of doing that, I will put a link to this actual page in the description right below that like button. So let's just jump straight into it, and hopefully we can find some awesome changes. I already looked through it pretty quickly, but as you can see, this page is really long, so hopefully we can only find the things that are actually useful. First off, increase the radius of strength in numbers multiplier buff from 100 to 200 yards. This is the buff that you get when you're playing with multiple people, and you know, this way you don't need to be as close to each other anymore. Gold find on items will now stack with gold find items bonus per fruits from game difficulty. Basically what happens, and a whole lot of changes are all around gold find, but basically what happens is that from now on you will be able to get way more gold in the game and spend way less gold. For example, in a little bit we will indeed see that, for example, taking gems out of gear is going to be a whole lot cheaper than it used to be. The 300% gold find cap applied to items and paragon points has been removed, and the vote king system has also been changed a little bit, so you can actually kick people properly now. Tyrael will now chat about his poor eating habits with less frequency. This is for one of the things for people that actually play this game a whole lot, including me. It can get kind of annoying whenever you teleport home and you hear Tyrael talk about the same damn thing over and over again. Now, there are a whole lot of class-specific changes. Most and foremost, it changed a whole lot of different things, such as like the elemental type damage that skills are doing. So this will likely mean that builds are gonna change slightly, and we might see some new fresh abilities that are now actually viable in the different builds. So make sure to keep an eye out on like the Diablo Reddit and the Diablo progress and all that. I will try and get the best builds out there and hopefully compile them together in a good video, so make sure to stay tuned for that as well. Now, like I said, I'm not gonna go through all of these things, because there's a whole lot of changes. The Witch Doctor, the Wizard, and here we go. So there are also a couple of item changes right now. Now, these are all mostly legendaries, so if you want to be seeing those in depth, make sure to take a look. So here there are a couple of really awesome changes. First off, we got the Herodic Caches. Now, what used to happen with them is that they would pretty much you know, they would always pretty much drop the same kind of loot, no matter what torment difficulty you were playing on. And right now, they have actually increased the torment 2 to 6 drop legendary item chance whenever you open a cache that is from these torment levels. So right now, it is actually useful to play bounties on torment 2 and up, instead of just rushing them at torment number 1 and getting the best loot anyway. That said, lower reward for Hell Rift bounties in act number 4, well, that is cool. Kadala can now drop torment-only legendary items. Now what this means, beforehand she couldn't actually do this. She would not drop any torment level items simply because it wasn't allowed. So right now, the torment-only legendaries will also be able to get traded in with blood shards. She will now give you weapon types that your character can equip with an emphasis on class-specific weapon types. So if you're a witch doctor, you're gonna get ceremonial knives and all that a lot more often. And yeah, giving you a common quality Crusader shield with just a little bug in there. Now, it also increases the number of blood shards that can drop from Herodic Caches, so once more, the caches that you get from bounties will now have a bigger chance of actually dropping a blood shard, and the number of blood shards dropped by Rift Guardians of Torment 2 to 6 now increases with each level of difficulty. So basically, playing higher torments is now actually viable and actually valuable as well in Torment 2 and up, in both bounties as well as in Rifts. Next up, crafting. Reaper's Wraps will now drop every single time, pretty much, if you don't already have it. Legendary crafted recipes no longer require specific common armors or weapon, and instead now require common crafting materials. Now, what does this mean? Well, what used to be the case is that you needed these things called ascended armor and ascended weapons and, you know, all kinds of specific white items before you could actually craft a specific legendary. Now what they've changed it up with instead is that you can actually disenchant all the white items that you put in your stash, because from now on they will require common crafting materials, and the white item being the common crafting material that you get anyway whenever you salvage something in the game. Next up, the jeweler. Sovereign rings and amulets now require Marcus gems instead of Imperial gems. This is not the biggest of deals because nobody really crafts rings and amulets anyway. However, the unsocketed costs for top tier gems have been reduced quite a lot. So what used to cost 500k whenever you wanted to take the gem out of your weapon will now cost 175,000. Next up, the Mystic. It is no longer possible for the same affix to be randomly selected as the replacement for both of your new rolls. When enchanting an item, the original affix will now be forced into the pool of possible replacement affixes. This will allow legendary items with affixes that are normally unavailable in that slot to roll for that affix when enchanting. So basically the Mystic becomes a whole lot more efficient from now on, where you don't need to worry about the actual affixes that you might get anymore. So that's definitely an improvement as well. Let's have a look. The followers are now available at level 1 in Adventure mode. And let's have a look. Reduce rat regeneration from 1.8 to 1.1 on the Templar. So these changes are not too big. Chiltara will now spawn more often. Now Chiltara is one of the beasts that actually drops you a really rare item, and this one will now spawn a whole lot more often. I believe it was the Gibbering Gemstone, if I'm not mistaken, which is needed for the Staff of Herding. But right now, he or she will actually spawn more often than before. Reduce the clickable height of the Death Maiden. So that was just a slight little annoyance sometimes when you were fighting a Death Maiden. They reduced the height a little bit on it, and the champions and rares can no longer spawn with 4 of the following monster affixes, and the frequency at which they can spawn with 3 has been reduced, so they just made monsters a little bit easier to kill. Champions and rares can no longer spawn with both Plagued and Desecrator at the same time, which is also just, you know, making the monster slightly easier to kill, especially in hardcore. This is going to come into play. Next up, the user interface. Friends who are playing Diablo 3 currently will now be sorted to the top of the friends list. A little bit more convenient. Legendary items received from Kadola will now broadcast to the clan. Elite kill messages will now also appear in single player games. This is especially useful for like witch doctors and whatnot. There are, you know, having a lot of pets out, and sometimes your pet will engage in a unit that you aren't aware of, which is sometimes pretty annoying when you're actually playing solo. Now, other than that, there are a couple of bug fixes, but all in all, I think these changes are definitely for the good. Things costing less gold, more legendary drop chances, higher quality items whenever you try to roll with blood charge. I would say this is definitely in the good direction. Now, if you want to have a look at the patch notes yourself, make sure to click the link right below that like button. It will take you straight to this page if you want to check out the class specific changes. But other than that, I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, and I'll see you in the next video.